Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday morning. I'm your host, Mr. Kadish, the beleaguered producer of the Salty Saturday show. But guess what? Everyone here is on time today. I'm so proud. Like a proud papa.
Proud
Dutch
papa
Butters
there.
is here in his full outfit. How you doing, Dutch?
Partially. I just got my helmet on because I feel like I'm going to need it today. I don't know, maybe not. Brian's muted, but whatever.
No, I was just texting my wife. That's why.
Oh, okay. Hey, what's going on, everybody? How are you?
Hey, man. Great
Tom?
to see you all, dude.
Yeah. Tom has a new
weird.
Tom has a new fancy background, it looks like, even though we still want to see his pretty real face and not his fancy background.
I look forward to this every week, by the way, you guys.
I know.
You guys know that.
The battle to get Tom on
the
camera.
only joy in my life.
Yeah.
No, my camera don't work. This is it.
Okay. All right. Brian, do you still like wieners? How's that going?
Oh, my God. I forgot. Yes, I do. Let me get my hat.
I can't believe right off the bat somebody gifted a membership and it went to me.
There you go.
That's cool, man.
That is okay. Well, thank you there, Eric.
There we go.
Wimberg.
There
I
you
like
go.
wieners.
There
Wow.
we go. We know you do, Brian. It's okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Anybody
wieners,
who-
Brian from the Popcast is here. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, man?
What's going on with Shane? Why does
You
he
want
keep
me to
bouncing out?
wear the wiener hat so you can say, speaking of wieners, didn't you?
Yes, indeed. What's going on with Shane, man? Why is he always bouncing on you?
He's a busy guy. And I think he secretly hates doing podcasts. But he won't tell me.
So, which one of you has the bad take on Working Man?
Me. It's me.
Oh, you don't love wieners, then, you liar.
It was so boring, bro. Let's be real,
What?
dude. Look, there was good parts.
Says
to it,
the
man.
Snyder defender.
There was
Yeah,
good
right.
parts
I'm gonna
to
say
it.
you're sitting through 10 minutes of a fucking hallway.
Dude, are you gonna tell me there wasn't 30 minutes of too much movie in that movie?
There's 2 bits I would have cut out. It would have cut it down to about an hour and 50, hour and 45
Okay,
minutes. and it
so
would've been
you're
fine.
agreeing with me. 38
There's
minutes.
one. That's it. You're talking about out of compared to
43
so much
minutes could have
crap.
been, and at least an hour. could have been
43.
removed
Where are you
from that
getting 43 from? I said about 15.
movie. I'm constantly increasing the value of that number. No, it wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't a good movie. I expected more. I expected transport.
Guys, this isn't the working man review hour, so we're gonna.
But we
we're
want
gonna
it to beat Snow White. It has to beat. So get your ass out there and see it.
I mean, I'm
Well,
not saying not to.
We are going to be talking about that in a bit, but now the Lord of the Purple, Odin from OMB Reviews, looking very snazzy in his newly.
Odin got a new light.
Shells. Yeah, new light. How you doing, Odin?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I had lights that could change color for a long time, but they just never worked and weren't very bright. So I finally switched over to these Wise bulbs and was able to figure out if one's purple and one's white, it doesn't look like my head is shining purple. So
One word for you,
They-
bro.
there's this thing
Gobi.
where if you have lights on both sides, and you can make one side more shadowy than the other, and if you put one behind you,
and
it
that's
makes it stand out a little
different
bit
temperatures.
and that's too much for me. That's
Put
that goes
red
over my
on
head.
one side and blue on the other, and there's no shining.
And I'm like, no, give me 2 bulbs. And I know now I know that it works. It's great. And hey,
Gobi.
we're
Get a
purple for
Gobi
the season
light.
of Lent. It'll be pink tomorrow since it'll be Latare Sunday, the halfway point.
All you
of
have to
Lent.
do, Odin, is go to YouTube and type in "How do I light a proper YouTube?"
Oh, I know
setup.
I can do it. I just don't
There's
want
2
to.
different colors. It's
There's
not
like a
hard,
million.
guys.
There's like a million different 30-second videos
Or
out
do
there.
what
people have
Matt does and
anxiety
just light his entire room up
about
as
different
bright
things.
as possible.
Wow.
My anxiety
The
is
answer-
overlighting.
The answer
like
for all this is Elgato, bro. That's Elgato. See, one
Oh,
push of a button,
Elgato
I
or
can change
Gobi,
everything in my studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use
Well,
Gobi.
I like
and
how
Elgato.
Dutch Butters is acting like he's a YouTube expert now. All you have
With
to
his
do
blurred
is-
background.
Did you guys just see that transition that Tom just made? That was amazing. That was
Wow,
awesome.
I missed it. I saw him and he was beautiful and I was so
Yeah.
happy.
Yes. Speaking
Good
of
again,
beautiful, Tom Connors from Midnight's Edge. How you doing, buddy? There we go. There we go.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, there's
Someone
that
has learned
mug.
OBS.
Oh, he's got the green screen.
How you doing,
That is
Tom?
awesome.
Not coming on camera,
You're using OBS, aren't you, Tom?
but you can't gripe. You got something that you can edit with. It's not going to be a black.
You got to come on camera, so we
Nope.
can see your beautiful face.
No
while you
one
eat
wants to
cereal.
see this mug.
Tom, this is what you do. Next time you record yourself on like a 20-minute loop, and you just have that going the entire time. You did
On
that
this
for like
show,
a
that's
year and a
all I
half on
really
this show.
need. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Dude,
I
Dutch
like
didn't
Odin's
pick up
meeting.
on it for like 6 months that I was doing that. It was just me like this.
It's not a bad idea.
For like 6 months.
It's not a bad idea at all.
Ooh.
All right.
It
Well,
took us
speaking of-
forever to get this figured out on Friday Night Tights last night, by the way, for just a small gag.
Speaking of not taking forever, Adam, Vets
Hey.
Talking, our special guest today, friend of the program. Welcome to Salty Saturdays. I believe this is your first time on the show. How you liking it so far?
I mean, it's a clusterfuck, as I expect for any of our types of YouTube channels that we do around here. Yeah, first time on this channel. Not first time with hanging out with you. I went to your YouTuber studio there in Vegas multiple times now. Happy to be here. I want to address one thing real quick. If anyone out there has not had a frozen Pop-Tart, don't fucking do it. It just is not right, especially if you're drinking coffee. I tried that today for the first time, and for some reason it's in my mind.
Frozen
but also,
Pop-Tart? That's the
yeah,
opposite
frozen
of what you're supposed
Pop-Tart.
to do with them.
Bro, so I've had this box of Pop-Tarts on top of my fridge with the backwards side where it says, "Hey, try Pop-Tarts in different ways," and one of them was frozen. So I'm like, "Hey, I'll try that." You're drinking your warm coffee with a cold Pop-Tart. It is so weird. It's just no, it just doesn't work.
Pop-Tarts are barely good warmed up.
I love
Yeah.
Pop-Tarts. I love a heated Pop-Tart, of course.
I like
but no.
cold, not cold, but like just out of the box, just straight out of the box.
So weird, Odin.
I can do
Adam,
that. That's
You don't gotta
Adam,
wait.
did you want to talk about your Tom McDonald? video?
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to open up with something funny at least. But yeah, hey, so I'm dealing with some fuckery right now with YouTube for the first time ever. I've been doing this YouTube thing for 2 years, and I do reaction videos. Tom McDonald, best rapper in the world, independent, does amazing music. He put out
agree.
a song yesterday called "Can't Cancel All of Us," all about cancel culture. Had an amazing array of cameos from freaking Roseanne Barr, John Rich, so many other people. And it's all about people who are trying to get who people are trying to cancel them, but you can't cancel all of us. Well, my reaction video for the first time ever, I go through a copyright process every single time I do this. This is the first time ever where it's not going into escrow. In other words, right now it's completely ineligible for monetization, even though the email I got sent said it's still eligible for monetization. And I believe the reason is because, one, they don't like Tom McDonald, but also I ripped on YouTube and said, hey, go to my Rumble channel because I could get canceled here any minute. And and Rumble is a free platform, free speech platform. So I'm not trying to do this to promote anything, but I did want to call it out because YouTube is playing fuckery. All right. And we are dealing with cancel culture out there. And that's it, though. I mean, that's it. I wanted to address that. Still to this moment right now, I just checked. It's still not monetized.
Did they give you a reason why it was ineligible?
No, that's the thing. Like I said, anytime I do a video that gets copyright, it always says it's still eligible for monetization and it goes into escrow, which means once the copyright is released, then I get paid the money for the monetization. So this is some weird fuckery that YouTube is doing right
Is
now.
there?
That I've
I'm
never
gonna ask you a
seen.
question. Is there
I know
a trim
why.
option? If there's a trim option, then it could have been claimed by Tom.
No. Like I said, it goes through this process every single time. Even Chrissy Mayer called us out on her show one time saying that Tom tries to copyright. It's an automatic thing that happens. It always gets copyright claimed by something called Matter. That I think that's Tom's company or whatever.
Is that right?
And once you go through the process, it eventually gets released. You just go through a 2-step process. But yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen where it's just ineligible. And again, like the way YouTube plays their games, it won't give me a reason why.
Wild.
I know why. I know why. Because you're a Pop-Tart guy when toaster strudel is clearly
Yeah.
the superior.
That's what it is. They heard
tart.
that and they were like, you know what? Screw this guy. It's not being monetized today.
That's right. That's right.
I can agree
I've
with
been
that.
literally my entire channel has been demonetized 3 times. So when you talk about like one video being demonetized, I'm like, man, must be nice.
I recommend though, don't go checking out my video. Go check out Tom's video. If anyone out there, if you're not familiar with him, Tom McDonald, Can't Cancel All of Us. Amazing song. Like I said, all the cameos you see in that video is absolutely amazing.
I was just gonna say, just one video demonetized. That's it. Welcome to the club. I mean, that's all I can really say,
Yeah.
right, man? I mean,
It's the Hangman guy. First time.
yeah, first time.
I've had my entire channel just nuked for 3 months at a time. 3 times.
Yeah.
You guys know what else is amazing is our leaderboard here. So we still got Made You Say Butts as our #1 super chatter for dropping a 300 on us. It's followed closely by Scotty Dub, who solidified his lead as our top contributor last week by giving us a very nice super chat. So Scotty Dub is still our top contributor. We still have Mexican Iron Man as our most consistent super chatter, although he's been kind of inconsistent lately. Haven't been seeing him around too much, except to excoriate me.
It's
for
tax
being a
season,
bad producer.
motherfucker.
That
Yes,
is, it is.
indeed.
That's right.
Also, want to give a big shout out to our top
too busy.
gifters, Jillian H, Major Chai Chai, and Eric Winberg, who we are going to be getting to in just a little bit. Before we get going into everything, though, I want to give a shout out to Jay Frazier, 360, and Marks 47. If you guys remember, last week they had questions for our guest. I unfortunately let the guest leave before we got to answering those questions. I did reach out to Robert Meyer Burnett, sent the questions along, asked him to respond so I could then read them on the show and give Jay Frazier and Marks 47 some closure on their questions. Unfortunately, Robert was very busy this last week. He wasn't able to get back to me before today, but I will still continue to bug him. I want Jay Frazier and Marks 47 to know that. So eventually we will get answers to your super chat questions. Real quick, our goal for today is 10 new members during the course of the live stream. I think we're about halfway there right now. We'll get to that in a little bit. Also, our goal is to hit 25K subs pretty soon. We're, kind of just chugging away on that. But if you guys like the show, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and share the show out to people who might want to subscribe on their own. Also, Dutch, we got saltynerddiscord.com. You want to tell people about that real quick?
No, not really. I mean, I got to get some kind of like pitch written down or something, because you're always asking me to plug the Discord. Saltynerddiscord though. saltynerddiscord.com, guys. We got a lot of people over there, mostly talking about video games and stuff, but it's a lot of fun. And we also have sections there for this show and for movies and videos and reviews and all kinds of things. So I think we're pushing 1,300 people over there right now, and it's a lot of good discussions going on. So good stuff. Watch parties, video games, all kinds of things.
You know who else has good discussions is Mephisto's Movie Reviews, who do the Real McCoy podcast on Saturdays. Friend of the show, so check them out. But you know who else you should check out is the Brane Show at 12:30 Pacific time, 3:30 Eastern time. Brian, what do you got going on the Brane Show today?
The theme of today's show is everything is fake, and got some great topics, but I don't want to bring too many. A lot of fake AI trailers going on. We're actually a little light on politics this week because I'm sort of bored with everything, and I wanted to go a little more pop culture. So I'm leaning a little more pop culture. Also, the EU versus Russia thing. I think it's sort of funny that they think they can actually win that war with their 14 tanks. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's gonna be a good show. I'm gonna have a fun time today. Everything is fake.
To everyone who's interested, at the end of this show, we will automatically be redirecting you to the Brane Show. And in just a quick half hour after this show ends, Brian will be going live with his special guest, not Shane. Although, will Shane AI be your co-host eventually?
Everything is fake. So who knows? Shane might be there. I don't know.
Hey, I want to throw a really quick thank you and shout out to Culture Casino as well, because he rated this channel shortly before we went live today as well, and there was like 160 people in the chat.
I love
30 minutes before we went live. So,
Culture is such
what
a
the hell's
Chad.
going on? Yeah, he is.
Love Culture. You know who else we love? Jillian N, who gifted 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships. Queen of gifted memberships. Thank you, Jillian. Or I should say Jillian H. Sorry, I dead named her. She got married, changed her last initial. I know, right? But Jillian H gifted 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships. She just hopped in the chat, gifted the memberships, and then had to bounce because she had other stuff to do. So I want to thank Jillian H for her generosity and support. Of course, we also have Eric Winberg gifting his obligatory Salty Nerd Podcast membership that went right to our special guest today. But guys, not to be outdone, Bob Dorsey
Wow.
10, or I should say 20 Salty Nerd Podcast membership.
No,
Haven't seen Bob in a while. Love to see you, Bob. Thank you so much for your generosity. That is amazing.
Thanks, Bob.
Very nice. Thank you.
Yes. Big Bob Dorsey is what we like to call him. Then we got Novus Tilius dropping $4.99 for the super chat, and Darth Maul's lower half for €2. The Jennifer Salke thing was a good one. Now do Kathleen Kennedy. Well, I was told that if we talk about Kathleen Kennedy again, or Star Wars in general, my entire panel is going to quit. So I'm going to put them to the test on that today.
No!
I'll never quit you.
No!
And we got John Yulden, friend of the show, for £9.99, aka £10. Wondering how long until Starmer adds my Force FX lightsaber to the UK Ninja Law. Have a great show and have a great weekend. All like and subscribe.
Ninja
For those of you
swords.
who don't know, the Prime Minister of the UK banned ninja swords.
They have a buyback program for him.
Yeah. And what's ironic is that so many people in Japan own ninja swords, and there's very little sword violence in that country, unlike the UK. He also announced that white men are going to get the full brunt of the court system.
I heard
Whereas
they were. I heard they were banning all butter knives and everything over in the UK as well. So
They better not take my swords. I'll fuck
It's
them
such
up.
a weird thing.
But
when,
chainsaws are still okay.
Yeah.
99% of knife violence is being done by migrants, but yet
Well,
white men are going to
yeah.
take the brunt of
I'm waiting for the UK numbers to come out because I think there's going to be a huge spike in shoe crime here real soon.
Shoe crime.
So
Hey, that was a real assault on George W. Bush one time.
yeah.
And finally, Kalikioki for $2. Tom's like Oscar the Grouch, never coming out of his can. That's our Tom.
I love trash.
All right, guys. So let's get into our stories for today. First of all, Marvel announces their Doomsday cast, Avengers Doomsday cast, I should say. And this is kind of interesting because the way they went about doing it, they did literally like a 5-hour live stream. Odin, you want to bring up your version of what they were showing us?
Ah, yes, of course. So basically 5 hours where it's like every however many minutes they would reveal a brand new image, and that image looked a little bit like this.
Yeah, so it was basically a chair stream, and they would have like these movie chairs that you see on sets all the time.
Brilliant.
And they would have the name of the cast for Avengers Doomsday. And about every 5 minutes or so, the camera would move to show like a new chair and a new
their
cast
music.
and stuff
It was
that.
like their special music.
Now they should have done something like this because then it would have been creepy.
Odin looks like he just went through the snap.
Yeah. But guys, it took them 5 hours to reveal the entire cast of Avengers Doomsday. And this is what we got. Surprisingly, very little Avengers. We've got quite a bit of X-Men, Fantastic Four, the Thunderbolts. And the actual number of real Avengers is quite small in this casting announcement. But they started off with Chris Hemsworth as Thor and went down the line and ended with, I believe it was Gambit, who's being played by Channing Tatum. Again, not from Fox necessarily, more from the Wolverine versus Deadpool movie. But it was kind of fun to see that. But once you got into like the X-Men cast, you're like, oh, these are all the Bryan Singer X-Men. Okay, yay.
Yeah, aren't they like 97 years old? Patrick Stewart's ancient now, man. I don't even know how he's going to do this.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart's also died as Professor X at least 3 times in the MCU proper.
If he even makes it to his time when he shoots his role parts in the movie, I'll be shocked.
But
So
Dutch Butters, what's your
Why does
reaction?
everybody get that wrong? It's been 5 times he's died now. 5 times.
Okay. All right, 5 times.
okay, out to lunch.
That's a lunch.
Yeah. Dutch Butters, what's your take on the reveal of who's going to be in the new Avengers?
I watched it for about 10 minutes and I go, oh, this is cool. And then I went and I played some more games. I have so little interest in any of this stuff that's going on with this movie. I guess it was an interesting way to announce who they were going to have in the film, but I think it was just kind of a big miss, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just, it's just a gimmick. It's just a gimmick. I don't quite get the mixing of the old Fox stuff with the MCU thing. I mean, I guess they can do that if they want, but it's not what I thought they were going to do. I thought we were going to get all brand new characters and people playing these characters. So seeing how they
have though, I'd rather have
I don't know. No, I wouldn't.
18-year-old.
I would rather them
chick from Compton in a Iron Man suit.
I think they
You know why?
I
Because
would rather them
Wolverine
start it
and
over.
Deadpool.
Oh yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think this Doomsday thing is just one big giant, probably going to be semi-unsuccessful cash grab. I mean, they've been bringing Robert Downey Jr. back as Dr. Doom as a as a freaking Tony Stark variant or some bullshit.
goodness.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't know, man. It's like I guess I'm just I'm tights and caped out. I have very little interest in this. I guess it's going to be fun to watch, see how much they screw this up, but it feels like it's in a real weird, strange place. I mean, you know, that's about all I can say on it right now. We got a bunch of casting announcements and a really funny, weird little gimmick that they did. So it's
So weird.
Well,
Weird.
Adam,
Weird.
I want to ask you, what do you think about the fact that there's only one original Avenger in this casting announcement, Chris Hemsworth's Thor? Everyone else is either from upcoming movies like Thunderbolts or previous movies like Black Panther, Shang-Chi, movies that Disney didn't actually even make, like the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
So, like, what's your take on this?
It's someone has some kind of logic in that freaking executive office where they're saying, hey, everything we're doing right now, nobody likes it. So they don't like the new stuff. In other words, they don't like the race swapping or the making everyone, all the characters are now women or anything like that. So let's try to go back to old stuff. Except they're, like you said, they're ignoring the actual good stuff that we enjoyed, and they're trying to thrust in all this crap that, I don't know, maybe they're hoping this movie's going to do well, and then therefore people are going to go back and watch Shang-Chi or something like that because nobody watched it when it first came out. It is another example of these people are trying to fix a problem, but they don't know how to fucking fix it.
Are we gonna get a part 2 of this little gimmick with the chairs, and it'll have like Patrick Warburton as the Tick, and maybe we can get the Watchmen to come in and hang out with these guys, and maybe the guys from what's that show on Amazon where they're all evil? That would be kind of cool. The Boys, get the boys in there. Yeah, just everything. Every person that wears a cape or tights, just bring them in. Then let's just have a big superhero orgy. Let's go. Let's do it.
Well, and another thing, the fact that they're bringing all the X-Men in is because that's another thing. Like we people have been screaming they want the X-Men to be in the MCU. And so their solution to that is let's bring in all the OG X-Men, which somebody said, like, yeah, they're all like all the actors are old now, but not only that, now they've made it canon that they all started in the fucking 50s. So these people are like almost like quite literally 100 years old. The characters are, at least. We've been clamoring for the X-Men, but we've wanted something original. Like you said, I was perfectly fine if they wanted to recast Wolverine and everyone else, but no, they want to bring in all the OGs. It could be good, but yeah, I'm very skeptical.
Well, Tom, I want to ask you, the big reveal at the end of this chair stream that they did was that they start revealing the OG X-Men coming back, which means that the Fox X-Men are now going to be folded into Avengers Doomsday, their big tentpole for the year. What's your take on that?
I was confused. At first, I thought maybe, just maybe, we were getting the Cheers spinoff universe with Frasier.
Awesome.
I thought that's what everybody really wanted. I mean, no, I mean, honestly, you said it best. I mean, we've got 0 X-Men practically in our 0 Avengers in our X-Men movie, basically, because that's really what it is. It's going to be nothing but trying to cash grab in on the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, which is not going to happen. It's not going to work. They're spinning this like it was some big, huge event online, when I think they didn't realize that they were basically being memed.
Everyone I know was upset about it.
Not so much upset, but I mean, they were making fun of it. Like Odin already showed his off, right? Like everybody was making their own chair with their own name.
Well, a lot of
And
the
other
creators
names.
that sat there for 5 hours were just like, this is what we waited for? What?
Yeah, I know. So like the whole thing is kind of a joke at the end of the day, but I think Disney is trying to spin it as some successful thing. Because let's face it, this whole thing is at a crossroads now. If Superman and Fantastic Four do not perform this year, I would not put money on Avengers Doomsday making $1 billion.
Nope.
And
Right,
there's
agreed.
nobody in it to really bring you into it. Robert Downey Jr. is not even playing Iron Man. From what we're hearing, he not only is he going to be Doom, he's basically Doom who manipulated himself, whether it's through magic or fucking plastic surgery, to look like Tony Stark to infiltrate the Avengers. That's the story, kids.
Oh, really? I did not know
Yeah.
that. That's interesting.
Yeah. But they think that that's the hook. That's what's going to bring
Yeah.
everybody in. That's why he was at the end of the trailer. Like,
I-
oh, everybody's going to come back for Robert
That
Downey
is
Jr.
sort of cool, though. Like,
I
I,
thought-
hate to be that guy, but it is sort of cool.
No, it's not cool. I thought he
that
was.
sounds like a Doctor. I mean, if you read the comics, that sounds like something that Doctor Doom would do for sure.
I thought he was just going to be an evil Tony Stark variant that went the Doctor Doom route from
No,
like
he's
Earth,
Dr.
from like
Doom.
Earth 4752 in the other universe or whatever. So I don't know, whatever. Silly.
At least that's
Oh,
what we were hearing.
Well, Brian,
Hey.
so one of the interesting
Oh,
things about
Just before you go to Brian, I just want to say I think it's funny that they gave the Russo brothers bubblegum cards with all the actors they could use and their salaries on the back. And they basically had a budget they had to go by. So we're getting the budget Avengers is what we're getting. Sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I mean, that kind of leads into my question to Brian, which is basically, so we've got a lot of Marvel characters that no one really seems to like. You know, you got the Captain Falcon characters, you got the Thunderbolts, which are, you know, the movie hasn't even come out yet. You've got the bad Black Panther characters. You've got, Shang-Chi. All these characters that the audience hasn't really latched onto yet are going to be featured in this Avengers movie that has like literally like one original Avenger in it. So why do you think Disney continues to want to try to push these characters on us as opposed to like take the stuff that people actually care about? You know, no Doctor Strange, no Spider-Man, no, other characters that like Daredevil or anything like that people actually have an attachment to. Like they're all missing from this casting announcement. So what's your take on that?
Well, so I think that they have to bring in new blood. Like from a business perspective, you can't just, and a story perspective, you really can't just keep the same exact, 8 people going. Like the amount of money that they want every single time is going to go up, up and up and up and up. And, you're limited on how many stories, like if the character is never at risk. Also, I think Daredevil is a street level superhero and doesn't really
Even like
fit in-
Star-Lord or any of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like what I'm saying is that the characters that people actually like aren't in this movie.
Well, we don't know. I mean, that's true, but we don't know if that's all the people in the movie. So first off, a lot of the people, and I'm not subbing for this guy. I think it's going to bomb, but it's entirely possible a lot of that cast list are throwaway cameos and small parts. And I fully doubt that they are revealing the bigger names, the bigger surprises. First off, Doctor Strange was not listed. Cumberbatch wasn't listed. And he is definitely in the movie. Like, he's in the movie. He tried to backpedal, but he's in the movie.
They did say there's going to be more announcements, but yeah.
Right. So, but there are characters and actors that are in the movie that they did not release in that ridiculous live stream. That's number one. So number two is they shouldn't tell us everyone that's in it. They really shouldn't. Like,
True.
They should keep things a secret. There should be surprises. We don't need to know everyone that's in the movie. We should be able to watch the movie and enjoy it and be surprised when that sling portal opens and here comes Doctor Strange saving the day or whatever. Okay. Also, I think it makes sense that Spider-Man's not in the movie. But we don't know if he's not in the movie. Again, we don't know. It's entirely possible it's a surprise. But it would completely make sense he's not in the movie, considering no one remembers him. If like canonically, no one remembers that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. They don't even know who Spider-Man is.
Is Morpheus in the movie?
Morbius, you mean?
Morbius, yeah, Morpheus.
Yeah.
Morpheus is from the Matrix.
Yeah, I
Touch.
know. Morbius is Morbius
I don't
in
think.
the
First
movie?
off, I don't think Morpheus is in the movie. I didn't see
Like the
Lawrence
red pill, the
Fishburne
blue
on there.
pill.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, Morbius is definitely not in the movie.
What about Venom? Is Venom in the movie?
Venom died, bro. Did you not watch Venom 3?
No, I didn't watch Venom 3.
Venom. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Thank you
Venom
for
is
spoiling
dead.
that one for me, bro.
Oh,
I
you-
ruined
oh,
the
this
movie.
man.
It hasn't even been out for like 6 months.
I mean,
I think there's way too much hate on Morbius, by the way. I watched it long after when everyone was ripping on it. I didn't think it was that bad.
Adam,
I didn't either. I kind of
Adam,
enjoyed it.
I've been saying it forever. There's a reason why Morbius rhymes with glorious.
Oh, goodness. Look, regardless, we don't know who is all in this movie. Like, for sure, we don't. And I think a lot of the people that are like saying, "Where are all the Avengers?"
I'm
don't
sure
know.
Willow, Pikachu, and Harry Potter are in it too.
We don't know if what Avengers are in the movie or not. All we know is that they gave us a bunch of names of people that are in the movie, and we don't know how long they're in the movie or what. First off, I doubt any of the, what is it called, Thunder Force,
Thunderbolts.
I doubt any. I'm so disinterested in that movie. I don't even remember the name. I doubt Thunderbolts asterisks, those characters, play more than just like a flashback, random scene. Like, they're barely in the film. I doubt they're a large part of
I'll bet
Avengers
you $20
Doomsday.
you're wrong.
Okay.
I'll bet you $20
Right here.
you're wrong.
On stream. Everyone remember this.
The
20
main
bucks.
characters, Brian.
I bet you they're in the movie for less than 6 minutes. Handshake.
All right. Well, I want to.
And I bet you Doctor Strange is in the movie. And I bet you we get a weird Spider-Man cameo, but it's probably Tobey Maguire or something.
No, man, it's going to be Nick.
Andrew
It's going to be
Garfield.
Nick Cage. Spider-Man.
If any one of those things is wrong,
I think
then
Ghost
you owe
Rider
him
might
$20.
actually be in the
I'm trying to
movie.
figure out the bet here. Okay.
So
here-
the bet,
here's
the
the
bet
bet.
is that the Thunderbolts play a bigger role than what Brian is saying.
Okay.
And I'm saying they play a very small role. That's the bet.
I'll
And
handshake on
here's
that.
what I think. I think Ghost Rider might make an appearance because if they go with
Ghost
the
Rider.
actual comic books Doomsday, Ghost Rider's part of that to a degree. We might see a little cameo from Ghost Rider. There's a lot we can see here. Also, did you notice the Fantastic Four were like at the beginning of the chairs, but yet Pedro Pascal was at the very end? So he plays a very prominent role in this movie. So, I mean, this is basically going to be Fantastic Four 2, but with Avengers.
Ooh.
Well, Avenger adjacent anyway. But I want to throw this to Odin. Odin, back in the day, Marvel used to have this plan, and Avengers movies were like these big event films that were like very important in the overall plan. They would spend years building up to these Avenger films. And with the rise and fall of the Kang dynasty and Jonathan Majors, they had to switch gears real quick. And Avengers Doomsday is that gear switching. And it feels like there's been very little, if no, build up to this movie at all. Like, old Marvel would have done like Fantastic Four this year, and then Avengers Doomsday next year, and so on and so forth. And have like a very specific plan where people had to watch the movies in order to know to go into this. Why do you think Marvel has basically abandoned this strategy of like building up and establishing characters and then leading up to an event film?
Because I think that their initial plan of having not only the movies but also the shows was a complete and utter failure, and so they still had all these shows in the pipeline. They still had shows that hadn't yet been released yet, and so I think that they're kind of scrambling, trying to say, okay, what has worked so far? Well, the only thing for Marvel it seems that has worked is the Deadpool Wolverine movie, and a big part of that is because of obviously a lot of the characters in the film, but people often do also, yes, Spider-Man, but also Spider-Man No Way Home. But again, when I say Marvel film, I'm thinking Disney Marvel versus Sony Marvel, which again, I know that they're like
the same people,
adjacent,
but
yeah. But again, I think that like we can see though, like the team up movies, the movies that have big casts, oftentimes can lead to member berries, and member berries can lead to success. So that's why I actually do think that even if the film ends up being bad, because remember, I personally think Endgame, like writing wise, was a terrible movie. I know a lot of people really enjoyed it, especially at the time, but it was a film that like the writing just wasn't very good. People enjoyed it though. It made a ton of money at the box office. It also cost a lot of money to make. The issue with this movie is that this film is going to cost so much money to make. The fact that they are already spending $80 million, for the Russo brothers for the two films that they have them for, so $40 million per film, and then all that we know about what the paycheck for Robert Downey Jr. is that it's significantly more than what they are getting. So you could potentially be seeing Robert Downey Jr. getting $50 million per film. So you could see him getting $100 million
He's also
essentially
listed as a producer, yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about basically from that alone, from like you're already spending over $100 million, like just individual film for one actor and the directors. You're already spending over $100 million just for those two. You add on top of that all of these other actors, which obviously they're not going to have as nearly as high of a paycheck as Robert Downey Jr., but you can also imagine that they probably have people going to bat for them to get them some money. You're probably talking about at least $200+ million for all of the actors, and that's before you've actually started making the movie itself. This film is going to be insane as far as its total cost. is concerned. And of course, the marketing is going to be off the charts too. And so you can see this film end up production-wise, though, costing even more than Endgame. And Endgame was successful. And I do think that this film, even just on the surface, even if it's not very good, I do think it'll still make $1 billion worldwide just because of the massive cast. The member berries are very powerful. They're very strong. We've already seen that. I've not seen a massive film of scale like this ever really fail in that capacity, in that way. So that's why I do think that it's going to happen in this capacity. Yeah.
I know how to make this movie be successful. And it's just two people. It's a Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer bringing Thunder Force into Doomsday.
Of course.
That's what they need to do.
Force.
Thunder Force needs to be in this movie. It would be a $1 billion movie. Absolutely.
Yeah. So they are clearly spending a ton of money.
Ain't gonna save no lies.
Yeah. But the problem is, even if it does get to $1 billion, if it's not very good and doesn't have the repeat showings, which these films often rely on to make the $2+ billion or even $1.5 billion, right? Then that means that this film is, just again, talk about the budget here, being as big as it's going to be, that this film getting to $1 billion may not even be enough to break even, likely won't be enough to break even. Yeah. So this is not, again, they're clearly blowing their loads on this stuff, right? But the crazy thing is Caroline Reed has done a lot of really great coverage of this, but we already know how much money was spent on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, right? Like well over $300 million was spent on that movie. And apparently, comparing the tax returns from the United Kingdom, because this is how long the production's been going on. We already have early returns on some of the stuff that they've been doing in for this new movie Doomsday, and they're already spending at twice the rate as what they were spending on for Quantumania. So, yeah, this potentially could be catastrophic.
I personally think, because we've seen the examples, Star Wars being one of them, where they came out with absolute hot garbage, and then it didn't matter what came on after that. Like I think Solo was an example. I thought Solo was a decent project. I know it had woke crap in there, but I thought the movie was all right. But it still flopped because of the results of what happened with the sequel trilogy. And I think this is good.
Oh, it's also completely reshot too.
Yeah. Well, but I think this is going to be. I think that I'm going to argue on that. There, Odin. That I think that people are so turned off by Marvel now because of all the crap they put out. I think it doesn't matter. But yes, you're right that the member bears are going to bring people in, but I think it's still going to massively flop because people are going to say you've fooled me too many times, and I'm not going to be fooled again.
Then how did Deadpool and Wolverine do as well as it did?
Fuck. All right, you got me there.
I mean, one could argue, well, it's the Fox characters technically, right? But it's still a Marvel film. It's still an MCU film. So.
The difference there, and you're not wrong.
I like how Odin was just sitting on that,
I think the difference there is that Deadpool and Wolverine kind of stood on its own, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is what I've been saying for a while now, is that if these movies don't perform, the superhero genre is dead, and the only exceptions are going to be those 5 or so characters that are always going to make money, like Batman, Spider-Man, Deadpool, Wolverine. Other than that, it's a crapshoot.
Superman.
Right? Superman has not made money consistently, unfortunately, and he's my favorite superhero.
Yeah.
And I'm rooting for the new Superman film, but I'm telling you right now, I am not going to be surprised if this thing lands somewhere right around the same as Man of Steel.
Well, Tom,
what the fuck?
Tom, do you know what does make money regularly? Is this show with our super chats. We have
nice segue.
Emma No Gay No Pay Way for $1.99. Major Chi-Chi is boobies in Spanish. I did not know that.
Wow.
It's very good. Mexican Iron Man
That
makes
is not
his
true.
appearance for $10. This is my weekly support, so no one says that S&P doesn't have any DEI fans. Also, let's all remember to call our leader Mr. Kadish, for low Mr. Kadish is our guiding light.
Mexican Iron Man is my favorite iguana person.
And we have Jeremiah Hembry for $5. What did they offer James Marsdale to play Cyclops again? Probably another Sonic movie? I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Cocaine.
But,
a paycheck.
Probably not
cocaine.
much, like in comparison.
did you guys see it was on Twitter recently where like they were using clips from the Sonic 3 press junket, and apparently James Marsden was constantly making like X-Men references during like the the like, you know, interview sections, and everyone was calling him out. It was like, why do you keep mentioning this franchise you were in 20 years ago? And apparently he had already been like cast in Doomsday, and so he was just like dropping these little hints.
Because I got nothing smells. He says.
Yeah, exactly.
I like him in Sonic.
And
I
we
like
got
him in
John.
that Paradise show.
John Yulden. Oh, he was great in Paradise.
Yeah, great.
John Yulden for £4.99. If they are filming in the UK, there will be no weapons in Avengers Doomsday. Oh, that's true. Well, who needs weapons when you got Shang-Chi's fists?
Of course. And I was going to add one more thing to make matters worse for Disney and for this production. They also have it, again, this is from reporting over at Forbes from Caroline Reed, who's amazing, has been doing great coverage of all the stuff, really unpacking and exposing Disney. But it says here that even though the Russo's deal specifically doesn't have any back-end compensation, it does contain performance escalators, which kick in at $750 million and $1 billion thresholds. So even if they do get over $1 billion, if they do, that means the profits start getting eaten up by the Russo's, who would get part of the profits there.
Well, guys, you know who's not getting any parts of the profits are the Snow White team. And I want to talk to you for a little bit about the aftermath of the Snow White disaster. And it is a disaster. Even all the shill media who was saying like, hey, Disney haters, like you were wrong about Snow White, are admitting that this movie is a bona fide flop. And Variety recently had this little expose where it's inside Disney's Snow White fiasco, death threats, beefed up security, and a social media guru for Rachel Zegler.
I love how they forget about Dinklage throughout this whole entire article, too. The thing that actually set the entire thing off.
Dinklage the douchebag.
Yeah, but the big thing right now is focusing on Rachel Zegler because Sony seems very adamant to hang this failure on her. But
Disney, you said Sony, but
sorry, Disney. Well, they're the same thing.
I knew what you meant.
But I want to go to the biggest Disney shareholder on the panel, Brian from the Popcast. Brian, so like, you on the Brane Show, you kind of talk about politics. So I wanted to bring this up. So essentially what happened here is that Rachel Zegler, during the course of her promotion for the movie, her contractually obligated promotion, she then did a reply that said, free Palestine, which got way more attention than the actual promotional tweet that she did.
Right.
And what happened because of this is that it got a lot of attention from, the pro-Palestinian movement, and they started issuing death threats against Gal Gadot when they found out that she was Israeli. And Disney actually had to pay for private security to protect Gal Gadot from all these death threats, along with her family. So do you think that actors should get political, especially if it's when they endanger the lives of their co-stars?
No. Okay, so they're employees, right? They're employees of Disney. When they're out there doing press, especially when they're doing press for the movie that they were paid to be in, they quite literally are working for a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if you're working at McDonald's, and everyone that came up to the window, you would say free Palestine. How long before they fired you? Or whatever, anything political.
What if you said fuck clowns?
Or F clowns, right. Whatever.
Clownist.
The second you got political at your job and started harassing customers, that's essentially what she does to us, you'd be fired. Which is why, that producer had to fly out there in the middle of a work week, and basically reprimand this young entitled idiot to say stop what you're doing, because she is an employee of Disney. When she is doing press, she is quite literally working for Disney. It's part of her job. It's part of her contract that she's got to go do press. She's got to do these junkets. She's got to go out there and promote the movie. And if your promotion is making it so that the movie will be unsuccessful and lose the company money, then you are doing the opposite of what the company is paying you to do. So no. Look, I'm all about free speech. Have free speech. But there has to be consequences when you're working for a business.
They should put some kind of stipulations in their contracts that when they're doing press that they're going to stay on stay on topic. Yeah,
Right. In the military, Adam, when you're wearing uniform, you can't go out there and promote things, right?
Oh yeah,
It's the same concept. She's wearing the Disney uniform, so you can't be out there promoting anything but the movie. Not Palestine, not Israel, nothing. You're wearing the Disney uniform, so shut the F up and promote Disney, and then go home. And when
Yeah.
you're done with Disney and you take the uniform off, then talk about Free Palestine all you want. I don't care.
That's
So,
a great comparison. You're absolutely right. That in the military, you got to stay apolitical. I mean, great comparison. Yeah, she was wearing the uniform. Yeah, she needs to shut the fuck up. And actually, I was just looking this up because I never even thought to look this up before, because I knew Gal Gadot was not just she's not just from Israel, but she was in the Israeli army.
Yeah, she was in the
And
army.
she was even in during the 34-day conflict between Lebanon and northern Israel for the 2006 Israel Hezbollah
She's an
war. I did not
actual
know that.
soldier. So
Yeah. Now, I
when
think
you-
she was
when you
like a
talk about
desk
these,
jockey,
like-
though. She wasn't like on the front line or anything.
Oh, I'm sure. But when you talk about all these like 90-pound women like throwing men around and stuff in these movies, you know what's funny is like the only person of recently that I know that can probably do that training wise would be Gal Gadot, which is funny.
Gina Carano.
Actually served in
Gina
the
Carano,
fucking
yeah.
Israeli Defense Force. She was also Miss Israel. This article said. I didn't know that.
Gal
Yep.
Gadot is absolutely.
It's a
something. I don't
Israel
care
has
what anyone says.
mandatory service, right? For
Yep.
anybody.
Yeah, they're one of those ones. Yeah, you're required, I think, to 2 years in the military.
Yeah, so I want to throw this to Odin real quick. So Odin, this came out on social media recently, where the son of the producer of Snow White just destroyed some of these Rachel Zegler defenders. So you have this person who said, your dad flew to New York City to reprimand a young actress. Any words on this? Because that's creepy as hell and uncalled for. People have the right to free speech. No, shame on your father. And then Jonah Platt, he says, you really want to do this? Yeah, my dad, the producer of enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie, for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid to do publicity for. This is called adult responsibility and accountability, and her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all of her colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. And what's interesting is that in the Variety article, they talk about how this producer went out not once, but twice to warn Rachel Zegler to dial it back on social media because it's going to hurt
At
the
least she
movie.
didn't get fired like Gina Carano.
She refused. She refused to do it, and then Disney had to pay a social media expert to basically come in and handle her social media accounts for her, so that she didn't have direct control over them. So, Odin, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this on FNT last night about how oftentimes people in today's world, especially people like Rachel Zegler, forget that in order for there to be rights, there have to be corresponding duties and responsibilities. So when we have this understanding of a right to free speech, we have to recognize that it comes with the duty and responsibility to use that speech well. To not call death on other people, for instance, right? To not try to hurt other people in any way, like in a direct way, where you're like, you're in a mob of people and you're just like, seize that person, and taking advantage of that kind of stuff.
Seize
Right?
them.
Responsible. Seize them. Let's be responsible.
Them and do harm.
And also that it is not, and I teach this to my classes too, right? The freedom itself is, by its definition, also not absolute, right? Even though we might have the capacity to do anything, we do not really have the freedom to do anything without consequence. Right. And that's the big thing here, is that there's consequences for our actions. And when you are, as the person mentioned, a private, part of a private company, part of, a private employee as a part of this production, you have a responsibility, right, to try to promote your film. And in fact, in their contracts, to my knowledge, there is usually something there saying, hey, but guess what? Not only are we paying you to be in the movie, we're also paying you for this X amount of time to afterwards be available for press junkets and all these other things, right? So they are being paid for this. So she was being paid to put out a tweet to support the film. And so by putting in Free Palestine, I'm actually surprised, and it's probably because Disney was exceptionally woke at the time, probably should have gotten even, sued or penalized in some way by Disney, because she clearly, did something that actually damaged their movie and damaged their product. So I think that this is a big lesson for her. Chris Gore was mentioning this the other day. He had a great rant on one of his live streams, and is basically saying how even though she is an adult, right? She's like 23 years old, Rachel Zegler. She is acting like a child, right? Because it's children who act in an emotional way. It's children who cannot control themselves, right? Adults, and the thing that distinguishes adults from children is that we can feel angry and pissed off, but we also have the capacity to say, yeah, but you know what? I'm not going to do that. It's not wise for me to do. She does not have that capacity, clearly. So I think that she probably needed a father figure in her life, or whatever father figure she had probably needed to do a bit more to be that firm ground of responsibility to teach her, because it seems like she wasn't really taught it, and this is a life lesson, and I think that she's going to learn quickly. Yeah, good luck. You're going to have a bunch of success, I imagine, in theater, amongst your community, right, in the theater, and maybe small independent projects, but I think she has killed any chance of her getting any other major roles, which is kind of crazy. Like, she could have had a massive career off of the films that she has been in, but she's thwarted it because of her stupidity.
I've got this image in my head of him going to New York and knocking on her door, and her opening it up, and she's like, "Oh no!" And he goes, "Rachel, give me your phone. Give me your phone right now.
Yeah.
You are grounded, girl. Young lady, you've been very bad on the Twitters. You cannot say this stuff. You're grounded for 2 weeks. Give me your phone right now."
Yep.
Also, I
all
want
I
to point out
see
the
is-
hypocrisy.
Well, hold on a sec,
I was
Adam.
gonna say
Because
they got the
I'm
same
going to get
thing,
to I'm going to get to you in a second. I'm going to get to you in a second as well, Tom. But apparently Steven Spielberg did try to warn her about some of this stuff, and she just kind of ignored him. But what's also interesting here is that Disney has like a long track record of allowing actors with the right politics to basically just go off on social media and say anything they want. Pedro Pascal is a perfect example of that. In fact, he got rewarded by getting cast in Marvel movies and things of that nature. But Adam, one of the interesting things here is, and Tom brought this up earlier, is that Rachel Zegler got a social media handler. Gina Carano got fired. The Disney double standard. And in the Variety article, they actually talk about how Disney may have not stamped down on Rachel Zegler's, political tweets because they were being sued by Gina Carano at the time. And so like, they were kind of like between a rock and a hard place with like, okay, will we get sued again by Rachel Zegler if we like clamp down on her, or should we just let her keep going because we kind of agree with her, or like whatever the case may be. So what's your take on the difference between Rachel Zegler and Gina Carano in Disney's eyes?
Amazing question, because that's exactly what I was about to say, is the hypocrisy. I'm a big Gina Carano fan. That's me, a picture with her at MegCon 2 years ago. The hypocrisy there can be compared exactly to right now the Signalgate that's happening in government. The fact that there was a woke anti-Trumper involved in a Signal chat that was talking about battle plans that was happening. After that happened, all of the left is calling for people's heads to be chopped off, people to be fired.
Yeah.
Guess what? Remember, does anyone recall what happened after 13 of our service members was killed at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan? Silence. No calls for firings. Nobody was fired. Nobody was held accountable at all. It's the exact same thing with this, only obviously that was much worse. I mean, there should have been impeachments after that debacle. But yeah, same thing here. Gina Carano got fired for saying beep, bop, boop. And now you got Rachel Zegler saying free Palestine and everything else, all the other examples that you're talking about, nothing. The hypocrisy is amazing. It just depends on where you align politically. If you are okay with the trans movement, if you are against this, that's all they freaking care about. It's hypocrisy. And you know what? I was just talking to friends of mine just yesterday, I think. We need to make shame great again. We need to shame these people for their ridiculous stances, for the stupid crap that they say, and we need to hold people accountable because this is dumb. This is so dumb, and we need
bring back bowling.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, we need really, and that means equality of standards. If someone's going to get fired for this, then this person needs to get fired for that. Or just don't fucking fire somebody for a freaking tweet like beep, bop, boop. How about that?
Well, Tom, earlier in the live stream, you mentioned a certain movie by Jason Statham, which if I even bring up his name in my wife's presence, she gets ready to file for divorce. But basically,
I thought that was going a completely different direction there.
no, No, because of the Meg, she hates Jason Statham.
Oh, for crying out
With a
loud!
passion.
great
But
movie.
basically,
Great
the
movie.
Working Man has come out in Snow White's second week, and already right here we're seeing that it's basically making the same amount, if not a little bit
It's
more
pulling
money
ahead. It's
than-
pulling ahead, actually.
than Snow White. So, what's your take on the second week of the Snow White box office and how the male-centric, working man Jason Statham action movie is kicking its ass?
Well, first of all, I just want to say about Gina, like, yeah, it's very hypocritical, and I don't know what I did to piss her off to unfollow me, but Gina, forgive me. But yeah, no, I think it's hilarious. I think it's a good sign. I mean, we gripe constantly about wanting new original material, and here we have a really decent Jason Statham movie that is produced by Sylvester Stallone, co-written by Sylvester Stallone and director David Ayer, based on Chuck Dixon's novel Levin's Trade, or Levon's Trade. They pronounce it Levin in the film, and the movie's good. Is it perfect? No, but it's a great time at the cinema for 2 hours, and most guys are going to enjoy it. Most women probably will enjoy it too. It has a lot of the same kind of things we used to love about classic westerns and 80s and 90s action films, and it's the type of movie Stallone would have made in the 90s, and I think people are responding to that, as opposed to Snow White, where there's no good reason to go see Snow White. Anybody and everybody who was going to go see it went and seen it, and I don't really think that the kids are really into it all that much. I mean, I kind of predicted this was going to happen anyhow, but I mean, I'm sure most of us thought it was going to do bad, but I mean, I've been saying for a while, it's not like Snow White is in the top probably 25, most well-known properties as far as little girls go, right? When it comes to Disney, she's not even in the top 5. So at this point, nobody's surprised. But I'm more surprised that Working Man is doing as well as it is. It is being released worldwide, so it'll be interesting to see what the final numbers are for the film. But I think it's a good thing. I don't know what the budget was on it. I don't know if Odin has any idea on that, but I'm surprised it's doing a little bit better than I anticipated it would, and I hope it does demolish Snow White by the end of the weekend, because it'd be hilarious.
Nothing official budget wise. 40 million though is what's being floated around,
yeah,
because
so
that
there
was
you
the
go.
same as the Beekeeper.
Real quick, before I get to Dutch Butters, Odin, what can you tell us about the second week drop off of Snow White?
It's not looking good. So going into the weekend, it was already being projected to drop between 60 and 65%, which is about what you typically see on a Marvel film. So we're talking about that kind of drop off you would see after a movie comes out, where you have this huge audience of people going to see it opening weekend, and then a bunch of people who are like, oh, I wanted to wait until the second weekend to go see it, going the second. And so massive drop off in that regards. And so having that happen for a kids movie is catastrophic. So we're already looking at that 77% drop Friday to Friday. That's also, again, pretty high. What'll be interesting is, and we won't know for sure what the Saturday and Sundays look like, because the Saturday especially is when the families ultimately come out, when most kids and families go to the movies. So that's going to tell us a little bit more. But I just put out, or working on a tweet right now. At the same time, at the end of the second weekend globally, the Marvels, because people are kind of comparing it to that film, but globally that film had made 161 million by the end of its second weekend. Right now, this movie, Snow White, is at 100 million. And I think we're probably only going to see it get upwards of maybe 125-ish by the end of this weekend. So this film is tracking behind it, and though I do think it's going to beat the Marvel's domestic number, because it is doing better domestically versus the Marvels, internationally it is not. So you could still see this film make about as much as the Marvels, which was only about $200 million worldwide, which is, again, catastrophic for this.
So, Dutch, there is this rumor that Disney is trying to hang the entirety of the failure on Rachel Zegler. But not to be outdone, the legacy media is circling the wagons and pulling a Hunter Biden laptop on this. Basically, by Thursday morning, over 50 journalists had signed an open letter to Variety, strongly condemning their article about, Rachel Zegler tanking this movie. And it's so typical, isn't it, that basically, like, Variety reports this expose, which basically fairly competently breaks down what the problems were leading up to this movie's release. And then 50 journalists sign a letter saying, "You're wrong. How dare you?" What's your take?
You know,
on
what was
it?
funny is going into the weekend, they also had an article that was trying to trash Gal Gadot and throw her under the bus prior to the film for her support of Israel and blaming her for this whole thing. But anyway, you were asking, my bad.
No, I don't know. I don't really know what to say. I think these journalists are probably all on the Disney payroll, right? I don't know. I don't know. It seems very strange that they would all go out there and condemn this. I really don't know how to answer your question, Matt. So they wrote an article condemning Rachel Zegler, and then all the other entertainment journalists condemned it. I mean, I guess none of the other ones wanted. I'm sorry, I'm crashing here. I don't know what to think. I really don't know what to think about that.
Well, what's weird, Dutch, is basically Rachel Zegler seems to be beloved by the media and hated by everyone else. And so I'm just wondering, like, what the motivation is to protect her instead of just like move on.
Well, she's little queen of the wokies, right? That would make more sense, because you got all these woke people out there who want to probably protect their own. So, I mean, I guess if you look at it like that, it makes a little bit of sense.
It's because she's a brown woman. It would be racist and sexist to fire her.
Yeah.
It's because of her vocal support of Palestine, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Like,
Because
that
of
has
her hairy-
become such a hairy back. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's because of her hairy back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't ask me hard questions, Matt. Don't do that anymore. Okay.
It's feminism. You know what isn't hard though, Dutch? Our super chats. And we got one from Marks47 for $2. Again, apologies, Marks, for missing your OMB super chat last week. I need some beep bop boop in my life. Gina. Yes, indeed. I think we could all use some beep bop boop, but it wasn't beep bop boop that got her that got her the struggle session, right, Adam? But it was actually like this meme she put up about like the Holocaust.
Yeah,
got her fired.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, everyone remembers the beep bop boop thing that raised a lot of controversy. But yeah, she made the comparison because back in the day of the Yahtzees, we'll be YouTube safe about that. That she said, back in those days, they called on neighbors to rat on neighbors, about being Jewish or whatever. And that's the modern day thing that's happening, is that we're calling on people to call out people who are sexist, racist, homophobic, istophobic, phobophobes. And that's the comparison that she made. And they all went up in flames. Oh, she's comparing things to Yahtzees. But again, there's the hypocrisy again, because that's all they do. They call our current president literally Hitler. and they get away with that. Yeah, Gina got fired for it. So again,
speaking of Gina Carano, I don't know if you guys know this, but Amazon had their own version of Kathleen Kennedy running things over there and ruining beloved IPs. Her name was Jennifer Salke, and basically she just got fired, aka stepping down from her position over at Amazon. And this is actually like kind of big news because she was like one of the most powerful women in Hollywood. She was in charge of everything that Amazon was making, and this Variety article basically announces that she is stepping down as the head of MGM Studios, or I should say Amazon MGM Studios. And what's interesting about this is that she's not being replaced. Her position is literally getting wiped off the map. And Amazon is basically saying that this is just part of a restructuring of their management structure. And she's going to be stepping down to become a producer and have her own deal with Amazon. And then the film and TV divisions are going to be separated out and are going to answer to the head of MGM, or I should say Amazon Production, which is a gentleman by the name of, Mike Hopkins. And this actually, it's pretty obvious she got fired. She did not step down. You don't step down from being one of the most powerful women in Hollywood voluntarily, right? As Kathleen Kennedy has obviously shown us. And so Jennifer Salke, who's been known as the most famous star fucker in Hollywood, basically she spent Amazon's money to get close to all of the famous people so she could be friends with them, go to the cocktail parties and all that other stuff. And she's also responsible for mismanaging a ton of stuff. Like, what's kind of funny, and Odin, I want to highlight this out to you, is that this Variety article basically lists some of the misfires, I guess you could say. But the numbers, the budget numbers that they quote in this thing seem very off to me. Like, for instance, they talked about how Citadel cost $250 million. And obviously we know, because we covered this, it's closer to 600 million because they had to reshoot the entire series. Then talk about the Rings of Power, which they quoted as $700 million. And we know that it's over $1 billion that they're looking to spend on that one. And so on and so forth. So like, you know, Variety is pretty famous for kind of like fudging those numbers. But I'll just start with you, Odin, since I called you out already.
Mhm.
What's your take on Jennifer Salke basically getting ousted from her very powerful position at Amazon?
Yeah, it seems like this is kind of this correction that we have now been seeing, or at least perceived correction that we've been seeing in Hollywood, in mainstream media now for the last several months after a certain particular election, where all of a sudden things started to change a little bit. And I think that honestly, this was also their way of not only giving her the boot, because she clearly wasted hundreds of millions of dollars on projects. Wasted it on many that have failed epically, right? There's only a couple of things out there, and there were the things that she didn't care about, the things that she clearly had no actual say in, or at the very least had no actual like hand in whatsoever. You know, think about like, was it Terminalist and was it Reacher, right? Like those are the things that like she just did not really probably have any actual interest in at all. And so I think that that's a part of it, but I also think it is a way of trying to avoid any possible litigation as well. Because if you eliminate the entire department, then, or the entire role, then you can't say, oh, it was wrongful termination in any way, right? So I think that's also a big part of it, was that way they can get rid of her. She still has probably a ton of money at this point.
She's
got the first look
contract.
Yeah, like exactly. She's still got like the whole first look deal thing, so they're still connected with her. But it's also a way of like pushing her away from a position of being able to make these types of financial decisions without having to face possible litigation.
And Tom Connors Jr., I want to ask you about this because, you know, we've talked about Jennifer Salke many times, you and I, on this program. And it does seem like basically she got fired. Now, all these stories are like, no, like she's stepping down, like, you know, she wants to focus.
She got
on
Amy Pascal
passion.
by Amy Pascal.
Yeah. So what's your take on that?
I think that's what happened. I think Amy Pascal and David Heyman and a few others came in on add on what she's done with Lord of the Rings. Like what Odin's saying, the only way I think it's more so to probably get out of her contract. They just eliminate the position altogether. At the end of the day, I noticed there's a little coup going on over there, because the guy who you mentioned that is now in charge of everything is a former employee of Sony Television. Where did Amy Pascal come from? Sony. David Heyman, on the other hand, the other guy that's involved with this Bond deal, he's a Brit who's been involved with tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of movies. And Amy also was around when they produced Casino Royale. So I think there is a bit of upheaval going on over there. I think she was resistant to a lot of ideas. Let me tell you a little story about Salke. This goes back to a Conan series we almost got. And the guy that was going to run that is the same guy that turned around and made a hit out of Game of Thrones over on HBO with their spin-off series, after he got fired by Salke because she thought that Conan was too misogynistic. So yeah, so this is a problem. They need to get rid of her because she's not going with the program. And Bezos was one of the people that was hobnobbing with Trump a few weeks ago over, or actually a month or so ago now, over at Mar-a-Lago with Bob Iger and others, because they know that the winds are changing. Things need to change. They need to get back to neutral, or this is just not going to work. So this is probably some of the best news that Bond has had. I still would say that Amy Pascal's a red flag, but then again, Tom Rothman was a red flag for Sony until he wasn't anymore. He was one of the best things that ever happened over there. So this could be one of the best things that's ever happened to Amazon, is for them to eliminate this person, let the shows actually... And the reason I say I have a feeling Amy Pascal might be somewhat behind this is because this is exactly how she ran Sony. She didn't get involved in the mundane day-to-day bullshit. She would literally set stuff up and let them go. Like, she would not get involved too much with production stuff. Yeah, she would get involved in the early on days, but once things were set up to ready to go, she would not send a bunch of notes off or anything like that. So she was very popular with a lot of filmmakers because of that, because she was not somebody who would interfere too often with the production once it was set up and gone. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I hate sticking up for her in that respect, but it feels like basically what was done to her in Spider-Man has now been done to Salke, because they got rid of her, but she's stuck there producing some things still. That's exactly what happened to Amy Pascal. They got rid of her at Sony, and yeah.
Adam, Tom's take that Bond had a big role to play in Salke getting axed at Amazon, I think is kind of accurate, because Barbara Broccoli, the woman who was in charge of Bond before Amazon bought them out fully, was very critical about her experiences with people over at Amazon, in particular Salke, who basically referred to Bond as content, and that really insulted Barbara Broccoli. And so I'm thinking, this is just my own personal conspiracy theory, that part of the deal for Amazon to buy out full rights for Bond, according to Barbara Broccoli, is basically she wanted Salke to have nothing to do with it. And I think that Bezos, he was at the Oscars and stuff like that, and he's been wanting to find like a real linchpin for the Amazon Prime shows to kind of like be built around. And Bond was like a big reason why they acquired MGM, and Lord of the Rings was like his passion project, and he's seen how that's been mismanaged. So he probably agreed to get rid of Salke if they could buy out Bond outright. And I think that's probably what precipitated that deal. So what's your take on Bond basically dethroning the head starfucker in Hollywood?
Hey, I'm all about the conspiracy theories, man. I put that tinfoil hat on plenty of times on my own show, and I think that sounds like it could be very accurate. To be fair, I don't actually know that much about this topic, but to go back to like what Odin was saying, though, this is a correction of the failures of these places. The last 4 years under the previous president, I like to refer him as a former vice president. Because I don't believe he actually was president. But that under that administration, we saw the woke thing, the entire you listen to these people who were prior leftists. I got Mike Harlow and I can't, oh man, I feel bad, I can't remember her name, but they're former leftists, and they call it a cult. And the thing is that always Carrie Smith, thank you. They will tell you this is a cult, and it's always just kind of existed more in the shadows than anything else. We've always known it was there, back when it was social justice warrior and progressivism and all that kind of stuff. But they got embraced beyond belief under the last administration. And it was jumping the shark. It really was. They went too far, too fast. And like Odin said, because of this last election, it was a referendum. They saw the greatest comeback of all time in presidential history because Trump ran on an anti-woke agenda. And they saw that, and they realized that that is not the culture of this nation any longer. And it's facing the backlash. They've seen the numbers. All of their woke projects are failing. So you're right. To adjust and fix what Amazon is doing, they have to get rid of the woke agenda. So they canned her. And I think at least it looks like Amazon is doing better in that way as opposed to Disney, because Disney is trying to fix things, but I don't see them fixing anything right now.
Well, Dutch, do you think that getting rid of this woman, who you had some interesting things to say about her looks before we started the show, but do you think this would save Amazon in terms of like its programming and actually allow it to compete with bigger sites like Netflix?
Well, I hope so. I didn't realize that there was a Conan movie or TV show that got axed by this lady. Is there? I'm hoping that since she's gone, maybe there's a chance that some of the stuff like that she got.
Well, it was languishing over at Netflix, but I've heard it maybe have some life again. But I can't say too much because I don't know everything.
Yeah,
Andre will probably shoot me.
I would love to see more shows like that come up and be produced for sure. Getting rid of somebody like her can't be anything but a good thing, right? I mean, so hopefully this is Amazon turning the page, and they're going to start producing some less woke, more entertaining, and more normal programs and movies for us all to watch. I mean, what else is there really to say, right? I mean, we don't know anything really yet for certain yet about how it's going to affect things other than just speculation. So hopefully this is a push in the right direction for them to get rid of her. So,
Well, Brian, I will say that one of the big things that Salke did right is she basically established Amazon as a major production house in Hollywood. It used to be like you'd go to a studio to pitch your movie. Now you go to Amazon and Netflix to pitch your movie or your TV show, and it doesn't even have to be profitable, right? Nobody has to watch it. Nobody has to, see it in the theaters or whatever. It's just like, oh, we made it. We made this. People watched it on our service. They didn't unsubscribe, so it was a success.
They technically have the #1 movie in the nation right now.
Yep, that's true, and also the #1 TV show and all that other stuff. I want to ask you, Brian, what do you think are the larger implications for Hollywood for a woman of power such as Jennifer Salke to basically be shamed into stepping down, aka being fired? Do you think that other studios are going to be following suit? I know that there's been rumors about Peter Safran over at DC taking over from like the co-leads over there and stuff like that. So what's your take on that?
I mean, I don't think it's like a woman versus man thing. I think it's a performance thing. And, you say she established Amazon Studios as a player, but all she did was throw a lot of money at a lot of celebrities and celebrity producers and whatever, and said, do your thing. She didn't really do much other than spend an insane amount of money. I mean, look at the Rings of Power debacle, and that's not the only one. Citadel. There's a lot of shows on Amazon that are good, and there's a lot of shows that are bad. So how much management was happening? We praise Amazon for letting the creators just do their own thing, and that's why they sort of sink or swim based on, their abilities, which is great. But part of being a producer or CEO or whatever the hell her role was identifying the bullshit artists and the actual talent. And let's be real, the people that spent billions of dollars on Rings of Power, expert level bullshit artists. Like, they should have never have had that job. And the fact that Penguin and Parker and other producing teams that were, tried and true and proven quantities were passed over, and they gave that job to these extreme amateurs, and they just spent billions of dollars on something that there's absolutely no way they made their money back on. I mean, that's a serious black mark. And it's not the only time. Citadel, what is the other one? Wheel of Time or something?
Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time.
Also, Stargate, then just languishing with that $1 billion franchise.
The fact that they have Stargate sitting there, RoboCop sitting there, they have the ability to produce them. They've had teams working on them. But because they're not attached to some big celebrity name that Jennifer Salke cares about, they just sort of sit there and do nothing while she pursues these big, giant names and attach them to properties that are tiny and small, and to spend insane amounts of money for
I can't
nothing.
help but feel like this is something you've been told by somebody very close to this.
Shut up, Tom. Shut up, Tom.
Is she the
You're
one who
very
acts the
specific.
Warhammer series?
Tom is not wrong. We have our main channel has a friend at Amazon. I'm being really careful. I don't want to get in trouble. But yes, no, that's exactly what happens. Like,
Well, and you've also covered a lot of the
Stargate stuff.
and stuff.
Stargate, because it's not attached to a big name that Jennifer Salke recognizes, it essentially just gets no attention. So you have this like team of people over there that is super passionate about both RoboCop and Stargate that really want to do this thing, but they can't get a lot of support. And like the second there's any roadblocks, there's all this red tape because Jennifer Salke just doesn't give a crap about these particular properties. And then you have James Bond, where other people around Jennifer Salke are like, well, we're doing this James Bond thing. And, luckily that's working out right now. It's going to probably work out with her stepping down. But we'll see.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Moneypenny series was like her idea.
Oh, I'm sure of it. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Bottom line is she didn't do much to establish the studio other than spend an insane amount of money to hang out with celebrities that she recognized. That's
so
it.
just to get this straight, they've got Stargate, RoboCop, Conan, James Bond. I
Rocky
mean,
and Rambo.
Technically,
how can
Rambo's
they not?
actually her Lionsgate.
How can they not be printing money right now?
Yeah.
It-
They
it's
have some of the
unbelievable.
most unbelievable, unrecognizable franchises in history.
Do you know that Neil Blomkamp almost
In
made
history.
a RoboCop sequel and they didn't let him?
It was
Wow.
unbelievable.
We were supposed to get a Henry Cavill Warhammer 40K, right? And
Yeah, where's
that
that?
Axed on
That's
Amazon, didn't it?
still technically in development. So that's
Also, they
still
got Galaxy Quest.
Schrodinger's-
Don't forget
yeah.
that Galaxy Quest. These guys,
Do
they?
they?
They have everything. When they bought
Galaxy
MGM,
Quest?
No, I think
yeah, they have the rights to the
Paramount
TV
owns
show.
that.
No,
Oh,
they have the rights to the TV
TV
show. Yeah.
Oh.
So here's the deal. Amazon, when they bought MGM, brilliant move because MGM was a zombie studio that had access to all this insane IP.
They also have the Addams Family as well through Orion, by the way.
What have they done with it? What have they done with
Nothing.
any of that? Nothing.
Netflix?
Well,
They did the Wednesday show on Netflix.
Wednesday was pretty
technically.
good. I'm not. I like.
But I think that
show.
was technically in that was before I think Amazon bought MGM, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
So what has Amazon done with that library? Have we seen anything? No. We've
They
seen
have
billions of dollars
consistently
go to projects
released-
that didn't matter.
they have consistently released the classic films, but you're 100% right. I do agree with you that Salke has been nothing but a cock block
Yep.
Mhm.
for all sorts of projects and putting all sorts of money into things that didn't produce anything, especially Lord of the Rings.
And
I think that's
also-
her biggest black mark.
Also, Brian, so under this quote unquote restructuring, basically the TV studio and the movie studio are being separated from one another. And so now TV is going to be just focused on developing TV, hopefully stuff like Stargate, and movies is focused just on making movies. And so I think it's interesting how there's a potential there where we can actually see some of these TV shows that we've been waiting for start moving forward.
Let me tell you something. That a friend of mine over there that told me about the team that's working on both RoboCop and Stargate. He said that they've been like every single meeting, every single like milestone that they plan that they try to get to is either delayed or pushed or canceled by the people that they need to speak to get it to the next level, to get it to the next milestone. And so they're doing work on other things, but these particular projects, specifically RoboCop and Stargate, are continually delayed, and no one knows why. Every single time there is a meeting or anything planned, it's pushed, it's canceled, it's delayed for some reason that they are not given, and it makes no
Brian,
sense.
Do you know what's not delayed? Our super chats. We got Hemorrhoid Hurts for $2 Australian. He says, "Good morning, friends. Is it 3 a.m. start now?" Well, it's the same start as always, but we appreciate
Somewhere.
you being up this late in Australia. Hemorrhoid Hurts, appreciate you. And we got Darth Maul's lower half for €5. It were the pronouns and the beep bop boop that triggered Rachel Zegler and her posse to attack Gina. Rachel put her in the crosshairs. Never forget.
That's true as well, yeah.
True.
I did not know that. So Rachel Zegler was part of getting Gina
She was
into
one
that
of the
struggle
people that
session.
was vocal about it. Yeah, I mean, that's why I love that. The only thing that I said about that article that was bad is it left out the Dinklage part. And there's one part where it tries to like twist some things, saying like, "Oh, that Gal Gadot and Rachel aren't at odds." And it's like by the end of the paragraph, though, they're clearly at odds. It's like, yeah, nobody said they were at odds before the tweet. The tweet is what set everything off. And the only thing I learned from that we didn't already technically know from like WDW Pro and all the other people that have leaked stuff out is that Gal Gadot ended up having to have fucking security. Like, holy shit. Like, no wonder she's pissed
Yeah,
at
it's
her. I
insane.
would be too.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep. Oh,
I did not know that. That to me is a big deal. Like, that to me is the thing that needs to be paid closest attention to. Like, we can go all day long about the hypocrisy with Gina Carano and all that business. We actually have a situation now where somebody was put at risk because of this stupidity. And I think, as was pointed out by either Brian or Adam before, Rachel has fuck all to do with Palestine. She's not from there. She has no family members from there. She has nothing to do with it. Why is she even involved in this? Like
She's
that's
part of that New York elite
Exactly.
Broadway circuit, you know.
exactly, and the
Because of
media's
her
behind
posse.
her and all that other
Exactly.
bullshit. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, she's just part of that that New York upper class culture, like liberal elite culture, and she's young enough where I think that she probably doesn't know any better. But we got Old Man Rising for $5.
And she probably went through something like Columbia College.
Sulk Me ruined a childhood early adult dream to see the Wheel of Time in live action, which after Game of Thrones minus season 8 made me even more excited. Desecrated. Old Man, I gotta tell you, what they did with the Wheel of Time adaptation is a crime.
It's a crime. No, it's a straight
It is
crime.
awful.
at least hopefully
awful,
if they do
awful.
it again, they'll lean in more into what it made it the original. You know what I mean? Like that's the upside of a lot of these woke properties now is if they've done so bad. Like Ghostbusters is a great example of how they went back to lean into the originals again just because they knew how bad they had fucked that up. Right.
Well, the thing is,
So-
especially for something like Wheel of Time, which is this beloved book series, it's like just do a straight adaptation. You don't need to make all these like
Right.
weird changes and stuff like that. The fans would show up for a faithful adaptation. you
Yeah,
know?
it's so weird. Why are you doing anything other than what the fans already want when it's already when first off, okay, so what, are you trying to get new fans? But why? New fans are going to come regardless. It's a popular series for a reason. I've never
Yep.
understood the thought process behind making such sweeping changes to something that's already loved.
You know what else is super popular, Brian, is Mexican Iron Man for $5. Come on, Brian. Don't you know delays are normal because Jennifer Salke needed to go to parties instead of stupid meetings?
Jennifer Salke, man, something else.
Yeah, she's pretty terrible. You know what else is terrible?
That's why when
guys?
you were like, well,
Acolyte.
she put Prime on the map. I was like, what are you talking about?
No, she put Prime on the map because she was spending so much money in
Yeah,
Hollywood.
just blowing money.
But speaking of spending a ton of money, Acolyte, the original
Star
Acolyte
Wars.
series, yes,
Oh,
spent a
no.
ton of money. And guys, there's this new, I don't know if you've heard about it, but there's this new push online to get a second season because apparently the demand for the Acolyte is sky high, according to Collider, which is like one of the most
Oh,
reliable
please let
news
this
sources.
happen. I
Oh,
love
God.
job security.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, exactly.
Job security for sure.
But what's crazy about this? I want to read you this paragraph because this is just crazy to me. So, the Acolyte is showing plenty of streaming demand months after the series was canceled by Lucasfilm, according to Parrott Analytics, a very reputable,
Legitimate.
legitimate source. The story starring Amandla Stenberg as two different protagonists is currently listed as scoring more than 20 times the average demand seen in the current streaming landscape. This is a rare statistic obtained only by shows that become very popular with audiences after release, meaning viewers can't get enough of the Acolyte. It's been more than 6 months since Lucasfilm announced they wouldn't be moving forward with a second installment of the show. Nevertheless, audiences are still showing support for this corner of the galaxy far, far away. And then, of course, we also have this tweet by Rebecca Henderson, who voices support for a second season of the show, saying that this new report suggests demand is high. And she says, the Acolyte has been a massive hit for Disney Plus. It was canceled because if you know, you know, but the fans love it and we love you. Heart
What a
emoji,
bunch of
kissy
bullshit.
face.
That's
I love how
hilarious.
she confirms everything we've heard. That is amazing. But you know what is even better yet is they're not wrong because it technically got better ratings than Daredevil.
There's some bot farm in the middle of Cambodia somewhere that's just playing this show over and over again to like up their time watch. So it's insane. Forget it.
Yeah, Dutch, you're probably not too far off, but I want to go deep into this Parrott Analytics thing, and I want to throw this to Odin because basically, Odin, this Collider article doesn't really say how the scoring is tabulated as how they come to this this determination, this 20.4 times rating. That means that there is an outstanding amount of interest in this show. And so, like, if you go to the link that's in the Collider article where they're referencing this rating, and you go down into the deeps here, they still don't explain to you how they come up with the score, but they do imply that it takes place over the course of 30 days, and it's all based around Twitter activity, right, or X activity, or whatever you want to call it. And Parrott Analytics famously, like, they basically monitor social media and try to figure out what people are talking about, how much engagement is happening around different, like, properties and stuff like that. And I think it's pretty easy to play the system if that is what people are basing their analysis.
These are the guys
on.
who kept saying Discovery was a hit for
Right.
Yeah, but Odin, I want to get your take on this real quick. So Collider says that Parrott Analytics is saying that Acolyte is 20 times more popular than it was when it was first airing, and that Disney should therefore give it a second season. What's your take?
Yeah, I think that in and of itself is already taking the L. It's 20 times more popular than when it was first streaming. Okay, so where in the hell were all these people when the show was actually on the air? How is it that all of a sudden now people are showing interest in this show who previously had no interest in this show? Has there actually been an increase in watches over on Disney Plus to correspond to this new interest? So unless there has been a huge increase in subscribers who are subscribing specifically to Disney Plus because they want to see this show, or people who already have it who are now starting to watch it for the first time, and there's actual evidence of that, yeah, this whole number from Parrott is absolutely ridiculous and can easily be controlled, right? There's no such thing as bot farms, apparently, according to Parrott Analytics. There's no such thing as engagement farming or anything like that where you could easily, come up with a reason as to why you're seeing these kinds of numbers. I always say the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding is not very good for the Acolyte because, hey, no one saw it, no one watched it, and it did so terribly, and this is from Disney Plus, which does not have the best numbers in the world, even by their own admission. The numbers that they give us, when you compare them to other platforms and other shows, it's pretty bad. The fact that even they were like, this did bad enough for us to not give a sequel to it, should have spoken volumes as far as how little interest there actually is in this show. And anyone who's using Parrott Analytics as your actual evidence or as your actual source to justify your argument probably needs to go back to high school and learn about research methods.
Dutch Butters, would you watch an Acolyte season 2?
Only if you made me. I only if you made me. I don't have Disney Plus anymore, or Hulu, or really any.
You've been unplussed.
I've been unplussed, and I'm not missing it. I'm not missing it at all. You haven't told me yet if we're going to be watching Andor season 2 yet, so I don't know. I don't know if
I'm not going to make you guys watch any Star Wars stuff.
So
I'll watch it. But...
I'm not planning on resubbing anytime soon. So, no.
So you're not part of that group that wants the Acolyte season 2 to come back.
No, not even remotely close. No, not at all. No, all right. I mean, it was kind of fun laughing at it once in a while, but it was no, I don't. I have no interest.
How are we going to get more Amanda Stenberg diss tracks?
I could care less if we ever saw her face on any kind of entertainment platform ever again. So
Tom,
why would people want to see her when they can see this
exactly
out there? So
Tom Connors, when I read this quote from Rebecca Henderson, who is Leslie Headland's wife, by the way. Said the Acolyte has been a massive hit for Disney Plus. It was canceled because if you know, you know, but the fans love it and we love you. Tom, what is the if you know, you know?
Well, that would be, of course, it got canceled because it was universally hated. I mean, this is kind of the problem with Parrott Analytics, right? Is that when they kept saying that Star Trek Discovery was a hit, if you do a little digging, basically what you find is that they're just, like you said, they're just going by people using the hashtag Star Trek Discovery. Doesn't matter if they're using Star Trek Discovery sucks, or I hate Star Trek Discovery. I mean, yeah, people were talking about the Acolyte a lot for a while there because it was the talk of the town. It kind of reminds me of, like we said earlier, with the whole Avengers thing where they're trying to push it like, oh, all these people paid attention for hours just to see chair reveals. It's like, yeah, nobody was literally just sitting there watching their computer for 5 hours except for a few YouTubers. Outside of that, everybody else has lives and they didn't give a shit. You were a meme and it's a joke. That's what the Acolyte is. It's a joke, right? Like at best, people would love to see a second season like people like me, and I'm sure Gary of Nerderotic and all the rest of y'all, because guess what? We can make more videos about how bad it is. But we all know what we know is that Disney canceled the show because it is going against everything that they're trying to do now and change their image. And the only resistance we keep hearing about over there, and this is where there may actually be some reality to this, is Kathleen Kennedy is like refusing to change course at all, is what we keep hearing. And she has some kind of controller sway that is above or beyond what Disney can do to her in certain respects because of her position at Lucasfilm and how it's separate from Disney, even though it's under the Disney umbrella. So, like, I don't know. I mean, we've gotten so many rumors and stories about how they are barricading themselves over there and they're continuing down this path, you know, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if something were to happen, if they were to announce some kind of movie or something to try and just, it'll never happen. But I mean, you know what I mean? Like just to gauge fan reaction. But I think at the end of the day, they're just misinterpreting or misusing Parrott Analytics, just like Paramount Plus or CBS All Access or whatever you wanted to call it back in the day.
Yeah, I also think it's important to point out that Kathleen Kennedy did not cancel the series. That came from Disney
Exactly.
brass.
That's my
who-
point. Yeah.
Who basically looked at, it's a 20-minute show. We're spending $250 million on like 8 episodes. Like, what's
Mhm.
going on here? But Adam, I want to read this paragraph to you. So, and this is from the Collider article. The Acolyte proved to be a streaming success when it was released last summer, but after an extensive hate campaign seen online based on the diversity of the show's cast, the industry was shocked to see Lucasfilm announcing it wouldn't move forward with a second season of the series. So, can you tell us a little bit about this hate campaign that was waged against the diverse and fiercely strong Acolyte? I think you're muted, Adam. Adam,
My
I think
kung
you're
fu
muted.
is not as good as my karate, but
Still muted.
Yeah, we're still not hearing you, buddy.
Like, let's all stare at
Nope,
him.
still
Make
can't
him
hear.
comfortable.
Still can't hear.
Still can't
yeah, I
hear
don't
you.
know.
That's
All
very
right.
strange.
Well, while Adam tries to fix his mic, just chime in whenever you can. I'm going to go to Brian from the Popcast.
Hey now.
Brian, I feel like this is a very astroturfed movement, especially because this isn't the first time we've seen people write about, oh, the Acolyte is actually really popular and it deserves a second season. But everyone who kind of like perpetuates that sentiment seems to be a paid shill of some type. So what's your take? Is there any genuineness to this, or is this all just astroturfed?
AstroTurf Extreme and Parrott Analytics has the worst track record. Like remember that show Velma on Max?
Mhm.
Dude, Velma got like a whole new season because they said everyone loved it when it was literally the opposite. Like people were
Mhm.
talking about how absolutely horrible it was. That was like the general consensus was this is a horrible television show. Everyone hates it. And they're like, look at everyone's talking about it. They must want another season. It's so weird. And you know what? I guess they could just go by off like pure score numbers, but like if anyone does a quick search to check up on those numbers, they'll see that the general consensus is this is garbage. We're not watching any more of this. Instead, they have successfully gotten the studios to waste tons of money on stuff that people essentially hate. It's actually pretty it's pretty gangster if you think about it like in hustler terms. Like hey, yeah, just pump those bot farms out there and we'll get someone to give us $40 million to make another season of this TV show that literally everyone hates and it's super preachy and it doesn't respect source material whatsoever. No fans love it. No new people love it. But you know what? The studio is going to pay the price. And then studios wonder why they lose money. Have you ever wondered how does a studio that has a streaming service that that millions and millions of people pay monthly for, like the fact that you can make hundreds of millions of dollars a month on command, like every month, not when you have a good movie or a good show or whatever. No, every month there are millions of people giving you money every month. You are making hundreds of millions of dollars every single month, and somehow at the end of the year, after hundreds of millions of dollars a month, you lose money. Well, this is why. You waste it on the worst possible things. You give it to the worst possible people. You have these huge golden parachutes that only benefit the loss of money. It doesn't help customers. It doesn't help the people watching. It doesn't help your service. And you wonder why you're losing money. People go, oh, well, it's server costs. Like, dude, I ran a server farm. It's not server costs. Server costs might be a part of it, but man, it is the billions of dollars you are pouring into crap that no one wants to watch, and executives that aren't doing anything, and creatives that aren't pulling their weight. I mean, look at Netflix. Look at the amount of money they have wasted on Barack Obama and Merkel,
Meghan
whatever
Markle,
her name is,
yeah.
and like insane amounts of money just handed to people that can produce stuff that no one watches.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, we lost money this year. Why do you think you lost money? Look at all the money you spent on something no one cares about.
Well, Brian, you know what's even crazier about the Acolyte is that you have people who normally are apologists for Star Wars, like Star Wars Theory. Love the guy, but like, you know, he always tries to look for like the good stuff in these terrible Star Wars properties. And even he couldn't find it in the Acolyte. Like it was disrespectful to canon. It was dumb stuff like fire and outer space and like all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like he couldn't even justify it. And I think a lot of Star Wars shills essentially felt the same way. And so like you had like this basically almost universal agreement that this was a bad show, right? You know, we talked last week about how Star Trek is dead, and Alex Kurtzman even admits that. I think Star Wars is on death's doorstep. I don't think it's dead quite yet, but it's stuff like this that Kathleen Kennedy keeps pumping out. That's very like quote unquote diverse and female centric and all this other stuff seems to be a big reason why, you know, people just aren't showing up for this stuff anymore.
Can I ask you a question, Matt? Who is Acolyte made for? How many women of color lesbians are also science fiction fans? Like,
well
who is it made for?
Leslie Headland specifically said that it's made for people like her, the queer community.
So you have like this tiny little crossover of queer community that also like science fiction or Star Wars, right? So if you were only making it for this tiny percentage of the population, and then you have to hope that that tiny percent of the population also subscribes to your stupid streaming service, and then you wonder why there's no one watching it.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, the percentages don't work out. You're making it for a percentage of people that is so small, there's no way you could possibly make your money back on.
But they don't see that. That's the thing, is that this community, they are in an echo chamber. They think that their community, they're gay, lesbian, all this stuff, that they think that they are like half the country, and they're not. It's just that, like I was saying earlier, they have been embraced by the political left, and they think that means that everyone is gay or lesbian or Transformers or anything else. So they believe that they can put these products out to appeal to that audience because they think the audience is bigger than what it is. And we know, all of us here, we have common sense. It's not.
And it's not just gays, bro. It's gays and gays that like Star Wars.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing that we're thinking. They think that lesbians and Transformers and all these people, they think that they are going to be Star Wars fans. They're not. These people do not watch. The same problem with the NFL. The NFL thinks that they can appeal to people who are anti-racist and who are gay and everything else, and they're not. Those people do not watch football. That's why they were failing.
Adam, I do want to point out that Kathleen Kennedy's goal has always been to bring in people who don't like or watch Star Wars and get them to like and watch Star Wars by appealing to their identity. But I don't know if you know this or not, panel, but I used to work in Hollywood.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Tell you that in the LA and New York entertainment scene, it is quite the insular bubble. Like, you would think, hanging out with the people that these people hang out with on a regular basis, that you know everything that they put in the show is the stuff people actually want to see, because that's what their little, you know, kind of like bubble
chamber.
Yeah, but
their echo chamber.
We're not accounting for crossover. Like, so my day job is I run a t-shirt site, and I design t-shirts and merchandise and mugs and stuff, right? And we used to do these thing called crossover parodies where we would like mix two franchises together because it's safe. You can do that, and no one can copyright take it down because it's obviously artwork, right? So we would take Doctor Who and Star Wars and call it like Space Wizard or whatever, right? And the thing is, those things never sold. All the crossover parody T-shirts where we took two franchises and mixed together, like Supernatural and Sleepy Hollow, they never sold. You know why? Because you have to have crossover fans. People that want to buy that product have to like both those properties, which means you are reaching a smaller community. So when you are advertising only gays for your Star Wars show or whatever it is, or Star Trek, well, you are now looking for gays that like Star Wars. And I gotta be honest, I don't know none of my gay friends care about science fiction. Like it's all drama, reality TV stuff. Doesn't work.
What you're saying is basically the equivalent as if Burger King tomorrow decided they were going to replace the Whopper with a vegetarian burger for the rest of time.
Be out of business.
Right. They're telling you what you're going to eat from now on, regardless of how you feel. And guess what's going to happen? They think that's going to bring all these vegetarians to Burger King. No, it's not. It's going to drive all your main customers away. Yep. And if you're lucky, you might get a small percentage of vegetarians to start eating at Burger King. But most of them are not going to because, as Brian is pointing out, they were never Burger King fans to begin with. They didn't give a fuck what the Whopper tasted like to begin with. Just like with Star Wars, these people never cared about Star Wars to begin with. So yeah, guess where Star Wars is at right now? Star Wars is at where Star Trek was at its best. At its very best. That's about where Star Wars is at, which means it's languishing compared to what it used to be.
Star
Trek...
Star Wars is at the dollar cheap bin sale.
Exactly. And Star Trek is at the liquidator shop right now because guess what? Alex Kurtzman isn't wrong, but he can sit there and he can say it all day long because he's not the motherfucker who put it there. It was J.J. Abrams. Right. Now he's just sitting back pretending he's cleaning up the mess and mopping it all up. As I've been trying to tell people, Hollywood doesn't see Kurtzman and these people the way we see them. And it's the same kind of shit here. And this is why it's gone on for so long. Well, but hopefully it's about to change.
I want to throw this to Adam and get his take. So, Adam, I asked you before to tell us a little bit about this extensive hate campaign that basically sullied this wonderfully brilliant show and caused Disney to cancel it.
Well, if you know is something istophobic phobophobes. That's what they try to claim. The fact of the matter is they can't accept the fact that their hiring process alone is what screwed them because they're hiring people based on their identity politics rather than actual skill. These people are morons. They are not capable of performing and putting out good products, and all they want to do is infiltrate their agenda into their products. So when you have the Acolyte, which I actually just watched a couple months ago when I was down in Orlando because the place I was staying at, they had Disney Plus. I don't know why they waste the money on that, but I watched the show. Was it all bad? No, I think that seeing a Wookiee Jedi was pretty cool, even though they ruined him and killed him off really early. But the show was fucking terrible. And just like we were saying, the way that Trump ran on being anti-woke, they ran this show on being woke. They promoted it as being woke. They called it the gayest Star Wars project of all time. And it was. It was terrible. They put all this agenda in there. They focused on trying to make all the feminine crap. You know, they say that the Force is female. Well, I actually have a shirt in my products that says the Force is fucked, which I get a lot of fist bumps for. It is a woke agenda project that was just fucking bad. And yeah, they can't recover from this crap. You know, at least with Star Trek, they came out Picard season 3, which just like we were saying, the first 2 seasons ruined that show. So there was a lot of people who didn't watch it. I watched it. I loved Picard season 3.
Yeah,
I wish I could pretend the rest of the fucking show didn't exist, but you still have to accept there was season 1 and season 2. But yeah, I think that the Force is fucked. Star Wars is fucked. Star Trek is fucked. Yeah, it's all garbage. Bud Light is fucked. Harley Davidson, I think at least is recovering. But yeah, all these people, they went woke and they went broke is the bottom line.
Well, guys, real quick, we have a members chat for 1 month from Mark of Reality. How do we know that demand for Acolyte 2 isn't just Disparu with several bot accounts? He gets pretty excited for trash TV. I wouldn't be surprised if Disparu was behind the astroturfing of the Acolyte. I think that he's an evil genius in that sense.
Mhm.
All right, guys, we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about it. I want to thank my fantastic panel of nerds for being here, sharing their insights and all that good stuff. Odin of the Purple, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Yeah, hope everyone's having a blessed Lent. And you can find me over at OMB Reviews on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, all of the places, X/Twitter. You can also find me over at geeksandgamers.com, where I write an article every Sunday, every week on the box office, and be on the lookout for a box office breakdown tomorrow around 3 p.m. Eastern.
All right. And Tom Connors Jr. of Midnight's Edge, any final thoughts on where can people find more of you? And what type of amphibian do you like?
Amphibian? Turtles, of course.
I like turtles.
There you go.
I wish I was hanging out in Grimace's lair like Odin was.
A lot of hamburgers in there.
Is it like Prince's house in there?
Vegetarian
November rain.
hamburgers.
It's just purple because that's the season of Lent. Purple is the liturgical color.
Are you a Phantom fan?
I do
not
like
know
actually
what
that
is.
movie.
I'm
I
trying to think
remember
anything
getting the ring
purple I
back in the
can.
day from the theater, and the ring
The
was awesome.
Phantom?
Yeah. His favorite
Yeah,
drink is
Billy
grape
Zane.
drink.
Billy Zane.
He likes grape drink.
Great-
No,
great
you
grape
can
drink.
find me at Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark, and any place that toys are sold.
All right. And our special guest, the bane of Tom McDonald's existence, Adam from Vets Talkin'. Guys, go check out Vets Talkin' YouTube channel. The link is in the description. Adam, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Yeah, at Vets Talk, and drop Gene. You'll find me on all social medias, including also my Rumble channel, which I'm trying to grow because I feel my YouTube channel may not last. But yeah, hey, if you guys enjoy what I've been saying here with pop culture, I do this also on my channel. We talk pop culture, politics, everything in between from the sick, twisted minds of veterans on my channel. Yeah, I do my show every Thursday for. Oh, damn, my soundboard doesn't work either. Shit, I ruined everything. I got Knife Hands on Thursday, where this Thursday, we got a lot of military stuff coming on. I have a group of Air Force Special Operators coming on this Thursday, talk about what they do. I'm going to have a Ranger talk, talking about 75th Ranger Regiment Thursday after that. And we got some Green Berets coming on too. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for having me here. This has been a blast.
Well, thanks for being here. And Brian from the Popcast, you got your Brane Show coming up. Any final thoughts, and what are you going to be talking about today?
Talking about a lot of good stuff. You don't want to miss it. Okay. The theme is everything is fake, and it's gonna be a fun time.
Right on.
So about half an hour from now, as soon as this show is over, I start setting up.
Yep. And basically, you guys will all be automatically redirected over there through the power of technology. It's a good show. Definitely check it out. Mr. Butters, Dutch Butters, any final thoughts and what's going on the Salty Nerd Gaming channel?
Oh, Salty Nerd Gaming channel. We just keep on growing over there, and we're having a ton of fun. I'm doing late night streams 5 nights a week right now, Friday through Tuesday. You know, I do those when I get home from work. I mean, they're super late, like 11 p.m. on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then Monday and Tuesday we go a little earlier, around 9:30. But if you're up late at night and you want to come over and hang out and watch us play some games, come and do that. We're playing Helldivers, we're playing Body Cam, and we're playing the Forever Winter right now. So we're having some fun. So
well, guys, I want to give a big shout out to Bob Dorsey for dropping those 20 Salty Nerd podcast memberships. That was absolutely boss move from Bob Dorsey. Also want to shout out everyone who supported us throughout this live stream. Novus Tilius, Darth Maul's lower half, John Yulden, Kaliki Oki, Imanoge, Gay Pei Wei, Mexican Iron Man, Jeremiah Hembry, Marks 47, Hemorrhoid Hurts, and Old Man Rising. Thank you so much for your super chats today. Really appreciate you guys. And as always, be sure to tune in next Saturday, same salty time, same salty channel, for more saltiness from a fantastic panel of nerds. Until next time, stay salty, my friends.